Excellent. So that's going now. So Zilu, did you ask Albina to go first?
Yeah, Albina, second please.
Yeah. Okay. I'm 6.5. I'm happy to join the session. Yeah. I've been working on responsibility organizing, calendar scheduling, global midweek check-in verification spreadsheets. Yeah, thank you. Spreadsheets. The for previous one. Previous week. We updated.
You've done a lot of calls today. Nobody going to the room.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm glad to be here. I'm at 6. For this past week, I've been working on personnel hour tracking and pay spreadsheet, FQN, payroll setup, Plasmo, invoicing and billing. And even I did a bit of new contribution ranking. Check.
Go. Vehicle, can you volume up? Okay. Yeah. You wanna check in? This is where Lucy. Can you check in?
People on mute. Rachel, Lucy, check-ins. Rachel.
Yeah.
But said mine. Zulu, had you heard?
Yeah, now
You are so down. Just pick up.
Yeah, just talk a little slower, Rachel, so we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm saying I'm at 6 today and happy to be here. This past week, I worked on updating personnel hours tracking and pay spreadsheet, and also the invoicing and billing.
there.
All right, why don't I go next?
Lucy.
Oh, is Lucy gonna go next?
Lucy, you are mute.
Oh, sorry guys, I was on mute. I just realized I was on mute.
No problem.
Huh. Is it my turn to check in? Can I have a dog?
Yes, you can.
I'm at 6.7.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm at 6.7. Yes. Ready to begin the session.
Okay.
Something else? What you've been
Nothing.
working on?
I check payroll, budget. Last month. Planetary sessions.
Vijay.
Okay. I have been doing pretty good, but I'm extremely tired right now. I didn't get much sleep last night from doing the Mercury session at 3 in the morning, and then waking up, and now I'm doing this session. So it's like back to back. A few hours of sleep in between. So probably like 5. Yeah. And as far as what I've been working on, everything from the new agreements to Z Collaborator to the grants and all of the offerings, and also FCRN payroll, and a lot of the sponsorship program and working with our sponsored organizations, the nonprofit, and then I also, we did the Mercury session last night, which went well. It was me, Albina, and Lucy. So thank you for showing up. And we have a lot of new interests in really updating and upgrading our management systems to hold the core team accountable and make sure that we're following through with the work that we say we're going to be doing. And so, we are hoping to have people step up, like, Rachel, Steve, maybe even Zilu, to take on more manager-like roles. And then we'll also be recruiting new people in the future to help with that as well. Check.
Yeah, I know.
Hello.
Any number there? 5.
5.
Okay, you got 5. Yeah, hello, Raquel. Can hear you. Who is it? Jessica.
Jessica.
Jessica, do you want to check in?
Yes. Yeah, today I'm good. I'm at 6.5. Hoping to learn more today.
What have you been working on? Tell us what you've been working on.
Today I was working on highest mandatory priorities.
For the whole week.
So I would call that choosing responsibilities, right? So you don't have any.
Jessica, you need to tell us for the whole week or for the past 5 days, what have you been working on, not only today.
I've been working on Plasma report, Cobalt invoicing,
Okay. I'm going for my check-in.
payroll, that's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Zealet?
Yeah, I did. Today, Felix was working on taxes, filling calendars in the event call, and live scheduling on the Google, and also doing some sessions organizing there, and weekly check-in, contribution, etc.
Great. So let us know if anyone else is doing any computer work for today. Otherwise, I put you as audio text only. And then also up here, we want to make sure that we update everybody. We have Lucy can help with some of the facilitation. Albina and Lucy helping with note taking. Cool. Excellent.
Who else take
Albina can help
positions?
with
Timekeeper, video index.
Yeah, so let us know if anyone else is interested in helping with any of the session positions. Okay, so let's see how many people we have. See if we need to split up at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we still are what's called. Yeah, this would be considered a dub trip team. Like we have 7 of us, so we can split up into 3 groups. So it'd be a triple team. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yeah. So it'd be a triple team. So we were a triple team now, but we're not a full team that starts at 8. So at 8 people is when we start considering splitting up. Okay. So check-ins are done. So now we're going to do our attendance and ranking. So let's go to the top here. So thank you, Albina, for helping prep. Me and Rachel and Zila were on time. Steve, Albina, Lucy, Jessica. Are we missing anybody here? Let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, everyone's there. Then we did have some check-ins. Yeah. We had some check-ins from Asif,
Abdul,
and Asif Iqbal. So that's what teamwork looks like. That's how it's supposed to be today on the Quarter Moon channel, where everybody who wasn't able to make it checked in, and that's the way it's supposed to be. That's what teamwork looks like, as opposed to just disappearing and ignoring. So let's just take that as an example. So then we would go through here and we would remove everybody from the list who shouldn't be here. So we're going to keep Asif Razu on because he checked in. Joseph is not here, so he will be removed. Joyce, she basically told us that she wasn't going to be here for the next few weeks because she's busy with her family, so we could leave her. So she technically checked in before, kind of, and told us she wasn't going to be here for an extended period of time. Asif, we're going to leave on for now. Aline, we would remove. And we are down to 10 in the group. Okay. So I think that's good. We're going to skip the rankings for now because we're still not complete on that. Are there any other questions about the attendance? And everyone here is a global worker, so that's fine. Any other questions on attendance and rankings, anything?
No question.
Okay, cool. So we're going to do our evaluations and prioritization. And also, one of the most important things, if you haven't done it yet, is our weekly check-in. So let's link that as well. So this is the global weekly verification spreadsheet. So we want to know who's going to be on SoftStop. But more importantly, we want to make sure that people can fill out the form. All right, here it is. All right, so here's the global weekly check-in form. Then we have the global core team prioritization spreadsheet and the evaluation spreadsheet. So we're going to take the next 10 minutes or so. Your updates also, to remind people if you were a manager, we already did our Mercury report. And so you can just go to the Mercury notes and write in your report directly into the notes because that's where we did it. And if someone wants to actually create a separate document. All right, any questions about our evaluations and prioritization? Also, I do want us to create a new prioritization spreadsheet for all teams, and it's going to be a backlog. and we're going to be taking all of the priorities that are, you know, basically, for example, like on our internal team here, we've got 60 to 70 priorities. There's no way we're going to get through all of those. So basically anything over like about 20, 25 priorities, we're going to make the backlog. So we would be prioritizing all of our top priorities, and then everything else would go into a separate spreadsheet, which would be a backlog. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can only do so much in each session. So it doesn't really, we don't need to go into so much, like we don't need to prioritize 60 items every time. We only have to do the backlog every once in a while, once we complete all of this. All right, so we would just add that on here. So that would be the backlog, and then that gets a color. And then we would link the backlog, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're good. So remember, when you bring your name back in, you want to copy from the other side and then paste all of your previous ones. So do you have anyone else? Teresa, Mazi, Abdul, Steve.
Zulu. Back.
Yes, I brought Zulu back. That one's done. So now we just need to add in Rachel and Jessica. And I should be over, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got one more. Steve O. I don't see Steve O here. So remember, we don't vote on the goals, Lucy, because this only is voted on at the new moon session, and then at the quarter moons and full moons, we just review the goals. Does that make sense? For the month.
Yes.
So if you want to vote on the goals, you'd vote early for June, July, which will be for next week, which is for the new moon. But hopefully we'll have time to review our goals during our session. But yeah, only internal team setup is all we need to really think about.
Okay, thank you. I think we can remove Joseph, put on another side.
Huh?
Because he's
Yeah, Joseph not here.
I just remove Joseph and put other side. It's not
Yeah.
Oh,
present.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, yeah. Yeah, remove Joseph. Thank you. Okay, so just do your best to wrap up. We're making progress here, but I don't know who's the timekeeper, but let's know how much time we have left.
Oh, we've like spent 8 minutes on the evaluation.
All
So
right,
we have 2 more.
we have 2 more minutes.
Yeah.
If anyone has any questions, just let us know.
Jessica, you're not feeling. You're not voting. You're not doing anything.
Yeah, she might just be audio and text only, but I don't know. Looks like we do have Rachel doing something. Excellent.
Jessica.
Jessica and Steve, are you voting?
Jessica, do you know what's happening?
Morning. Just a minute.
Oh, great. Jessica started voting. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Ooh. All right. So let's get these ranked real quick. So if everyone can just wait for a second, I'm gonna go ahead and prioritize. Okay, so just hold on 1 second. So just make sure
They can try to be fast a bit.
yeah, just make sure you vote on all of the top priorities here, like the first 10 or 12 or 20 or whatever. And then we are good to go. So let's get started with our desired outcomes. People can keep voting if they would like to. And again, I just want to remind us that we have this new task of creating the backlog. Create backlog. All right, so the next step is our desired outcomes. Let's see what we got so far. Desired outcomes. So we're gonna do our team building, understanding some more methods, policies, start making a plan of. Excuse me. Review mandatory priorities, discussion on next month's budget, view 151 global tabulation. Great. So this is all good stuff.
Okay.
This responsibility, global working goals and responsibilities doc. Okay, that's good to have. All right. So are there any other desired outcomes or topics? So obviously we have budget. We've got the
Tabulation.
151 tabulation. And then other would be like methods and policies. And then mandatory priorities.
Yeah.
So that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and see people where people are at on the voting. So I'm going to go ahead and rank these again. So hold on a segundo. All right, there we go. So we at least have the top 20 or so. So it looks like the first top priority is the mandatory priorities, and then methods, invoice tabulation, and then budget.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have invoicing, billing for the teams. Cool. So let's just go ahead and take these top 10 for now and pop them into here. All right, so here are our top 10 for today. So I think that looks pretty good. So let's just see what we can do. I think everything is included in here that we wanted to go over. Any other desired outcomes or priority focus for the session? Are there any objections to the desired outcomes or the focus for the meeting or topics?
No.
All right, so we have agreement on topic and desired outcomes. Great. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic, which is our schedule for the session. So we're at the bottom of the hour, so we do our stretch break. Stretch break at the bottom of hour. So whoever's the timekeeper, remember to do that. So everybody's supposed to stand up and stretch real quick.
Yeah, we are at the bottom of the hour.
Yes, one second.
And you can bounce around a little bit. So it's just a 30-second stretch break at the bottom of every hour.
Yeah.
You need to take a drink of water. That's okay too. And then at the top of the hour, we're gonna take a full, like 3-5 minute break. So top of the hour breaks for 3 to 5 minutes, and then we are going to try to wrap up. I mean, today's a really long day of sessions, and I know we have a lot of important things to go over, and we have the whole group. So, I mean, I could see us doing 3 hours and then, like 2 to 3 hours, but we're going to take a break at some point, and then we have the Cobalt session as well today. So this obviously is more important than the Cobalt session. So the most important one is the Mercury session, which we already had. This is the next most important session, and then the least important is the Cobalt session. Okay, so let's do wrap up at, so it's 12:30, so give us an hour and a half, 12:30, 1:30, so 2 o'clock. Okay, so 2 o'clock p.m. or 2 o'clock, whichever time you're at. UTC would be 2 plus 6 is 8. 8 o'clock UTC. Okay.
Yeah.
So so whoever's doing timekeeping and all of us, let's just remember at 2 o'clock. Maybe we should even do like 1:50. you know,
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of give us a head start on that. And then we should start wrapping up, and then hopefully we can finish by 2:20 or 8:20 be done. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So other than this, we have Cobalt session at, I believe it's at
Coming
5
up.
o'clock.
5.
Are there any other upcoming sessions that people should be? All right. Wasn't dynamic?
We have only tomorrow. We have dynamic.
That is in the afternoon.
Thursday?
And people from all world no one is usually attending.
Actually, people are not turning up for the main weekly session for the old world.
Well, that's
We need
that's a problem, right? So whoever's on the old world team should be either attending that session or at least checking in that you can't attend and what you've been working on, right? So, what time is it at again, please?
It is 4 p.m.
5 a.m. American time.
5 a.m.
All right, so it's basically exactly opposite of the Cobalt session.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The
So
opposite.
this would be 11 a.m. UTC. Is that right?
Yeah. 11.
Yes, yeah.
Cool. All right.
Wow,
So
that's
Yes.
opposite.
yeah, which is exactly correct because this is the new world and
And
this
old
is the
world.
old world, right? So having it be exactly opposite is expected. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we're good on that. Any other questions about our schedule? Also, just so you guys know, here we're going to be adding proposals and decision docs review. The main proposal that we have, if we don't get to it today, is the main anti-workplace bullying policy. And there's also a proposal for one other thing. I can't remember. Well, there's the badges proposal that we could do. I believe there's another proposal as well. Anyways, we might not get to them, but we should definitely still do these on the sheet. Are there any other proposals anyone has that we should make sure we're reviewing? Oh, look, Asif made it. So let's get Asif checking in.
Yeah, guys, thank you, and it's good to be here. And I'm at 7.5.
Can you go ahead and check in, please? Or let us know what you've been working on? Asif, Iqbal, if you could just let us know what we've been working on, and we're good.
Yes, today I was in Chamber of Commerce for my, trade license. And finally, I got the, receipt for trade license. And by next week, in the start of next week, like Monday, I will be having my trade license with me with memorandum of article as well.
Great. Is there any is there anything you've been working on for Afghan Community Network, or no? You just working on your business setup, which is fine.
And honestly, to be very straightforward, I haven't been working for Afghan, but yeah, I'm looking forward and very nearly. So hopefully by tomorrow, I'll be working on invoicing and I'll be working on recruitment.
Cool. Okay, so let's be sure we want to focus on the budget and talk about the budget. I'm not sure if we're going to get to Animax and Nation today, so if you have a question about that, you should just ask it now, really quickly. But I did put the message in the Skype, that we can just focus on doing the collaborative company and supporting building clientele and collaborative organizing with the whole group. So whoever was interested in starting a business together. So I think that sounds good.
Yes, it is. Good. It is good.
Yeah, and then if you had any other needs, just let us know, and you can put that on that document that you already created. Sweet. So the only other thing I wanted to review is the weekly check-in. Was there anything else from the? Let's see if there's anything else actually that we need to.
We need also to view the policy for people who don't communicate. Can we view on policy?
So
What
that would
policy?
be team. That would be teamwork. Let's do it methods. So communications, okay? Team communications.
Yes.
That's part of our methods.
Thank you.
And then what we want is there was one other thing. We want to just quickly check. We made a list during the Mercury Perleon session for and everybody remember, like every time you come into the notes, you always want to update the table of contents so it has all of our links. So this was the quarter moon session. And number one priority was the budget, and then remember proposals, the weekly check-in report from the previous week, and hard stop, soft stop. So this is the only other thing. So let's make sure we don't forget that. Where can that go into our mandatory priorities, budget, invoicing, payroll setup? So new communications and worker coordination policy. So this is weekly check-in right here, okay?
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get to that, and then I'll just put that right here, weekly check-in. Okay, cool. So, and of course, if we don't get to the weekly check-in here, we still have to do it. And bottom line, from our understanding, both the old world and new world is going on a soft stop because we are not meeting our client responsibilities. So hopefully we'll have more time to talk about it. But just so you know, the new world, everybody on the new world team needs to cut their time in half basically and get focused on the client responsibilities. So it was 0% client work from the new world. And for the old world, we had 14% client work and 44% internal operations. So with internal operations, we were good. We actually want to lower that a little bit, get more focused on the client work for the old world. And then for the new world, we want to increase both the client work and the internal operations. Okay? Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our budget. So we're going to go to our mandatory priorities. So also we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people. So we technically can split up into 2 groups. Let's just see if there's any people who would vote for that. So this would be considering splitting up. One last component here. Jay would vote for splitting up. Does anyone else want to vote for splitting up? Everyone else stay together. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to stay together, which is expected, but if we get to 10, we always automatically split up, but this is good. Okay, so now we are going on to our first topic. There was no objections to the topics and priorities as far as I know. So,
can we add the positions because we are starting from scratch at the we need to review the positions.
say again, Zilu.
Can we focus on the positions?
The manager positions?
Yeah.
All right, we'll put that in other, but basically for people who are interested in focusing on the management positions, that's what the Mercury session is for, right?
Yeah.
So we already did that. So you can watch the Mercury session video, or you can just ask questions on Skype or during buddy teams. But we are asking people to step up into a general management role And primarily it would be people like, Zilu, Rachel, Steve, other people who are ranked very high, Jessica, who are ranked very high in the HR rankings, okay? The direct hourly HR rankings. So yeah, just let us know if you are interested in that, and then, talk to Albina, talk to Lucy. They can help do training for you, or you can watch the training videos from the Mercury session and other previous Mercury sessions. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so just watch the training video. Great. Okay, so let's go on to the first topic, which is the mandatory priorities. So we're going to need to go ahead and link that. All right, here is the mandatory priorities doc. Are there any questions about the mandatory priorities off the top? Okay, so the only people who are currently exempt from mandatory priorities would be basically no upfront pay workers, volunteers, okay? As far as the number one top priority is responsibility organizing. Can someone explain why responsibility organizing is the most important?
Yeah, if we are organizing responsibility, then the new people can come and work from there and follow the policies of responsibilities.
So the responsibility organizing, it's true, it helps bring new people in and get them trained and involved, but it also does one other very important thing.
Yeah, it's like when you are organized, it is also easier for you to know what you are going to work on.
Yes.
What you are going to work on.
Exactly. Yeah. So it helps you yourself get the work done because you know what your goals are, and it's easier for people to communicate about the responsibility. Right. Okay. Cool. So recruitment and websites are the only ones. They're not huge priorities, but can someone explain what's going on with the mandatory priorities, verification priorities, and spreadsheet tabs now? Let's try to get
we have these highest priorities that Jessica is working on. We tell them to arrange to see at least the highest one that we need to we have also the new order that has everything.
Okay, so I guess my question is, like, what we don't need 3 tabs, like we only need 1 tab, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the correct, I think this is the correct, with order.
Yes.
And then this is like old, not correct. I don't know what that is. Right? I mean, what do we need with the highest priorities? I don't understand why we would have a separate thing for highest priorities. I mean, you can just, with the correct order, you just come in here and you go to the score, right? As long as you have the original order here in column F. If you want to prioritize, you just go to here and then bam, all the top priorities at the top of the list. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a necessity to have a separate list. And then if you want to go back to the ordered model, you would just go to the column F and then you would sort by column F, and then everything's back in the original order. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So let's just like not use these. These are old, and eventually we'll get deleted. And Albina, you guys updated all of with the correct order. You updated all the scores and everything. Are all good?
Yeah, on the new one, yes.
All right. So these two old ones can basically be ignored and deleted. So this is the correct one. Old, not correct. Old. All right. So from here we would just go to we can well, I think it's good to go through it in order, and then we'll prioritize as well. So again, responsibility organizing is the most important thing for all of the responsibilities. Assistant work responsibility is also very, very high priority. This would be working with Jay directly. All right. Executive assistant, virtual assistant work, personal assistant. So anyone who wants to do Jay support work, you need to be communicating with me. You cannot put in your work report that you did Jay support work and you're not communicating. That's not support. Okay. RICO law, this is also important. Treasurer support, money organizing, super important. Also the rankings and ranking verification, somebody needs to sit down and work with me on that to move it forward, because I think everything that where it's currently at is done. So other than preparing for the budget rankings, there's not that much else that needs to be done. So under
we are done with the top ranking. Direct hourly ranking. The only ranking that's not done is overall.
Yeah, so that's what we need to prioritize together and make sure we get it done. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like Jay, you know what we need to do on overall? We don't need to include elections.
for co-chair elections.
That is what
I couldn't hear you, Lucy. So then another one here is
I think I don't know whether it's that
here, Lucy, or is it just me?
Jay. You are breaking, Jay.
Oh, you guys can't hear me?
Yeah, now
Yeah.
Is that any better? Can you hear me now?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we
We
can.
can hear you now.
All right, Lucy, can you say again?
I was asking about, is it good to include election on overall ranking?
Everything will be included in the overall ranking. So we'll get to that, and that's what we need to talk about. But right now is not the time and place. We'll get working on that.
Okay.
All right. So so as far as like the other thing we need to fix is this. All this here, the projects need to be updated. So this would be budget, invoice, right? Would be invoicing, invoice, total invoice, okay, essential personnel worker. This would be worker coordination. Right, so we would also want to add, I think we're talking about under the budget, we would do HR, direct, hour, and budget rankings. So for now, this is really the only rankings that we essentially need. And then there's also the preparation support, which includes the co-chair elections, right? All right. So let's add this in here under budget. It's actually going to be rankings, right? All right. So and then there's also this email issues with the server that need support client relations and agreements. I don't think you guys actually did update this. You were supposed to update to make sure all the mandatory priorities were listed in the spreadsheet, but it doesn't look like you actually did that.
Which one is it?
This was the client relations and client agreement write-ups. So yeah, I added that one as well. So anyways, there's a lot of work here. All of the responsibilities and projects need to be updated here. So that needs to be done. And then we need to update, the scores and rankings and all the stuff. So let's just be sure to get that all updated. All right, any questions on the assistant work responsibilities? Okay.
You said we need to create another spreadsheet for soft and hard stock. So that is done after.
On this topic.
I don't know what you're talking about. Making another spreadsheet for soft and hard stuff? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, during the Mercury session, Lucy, remember?
Oh, yeah. That responsibility would be part of worker coordination.
Mm-hmm.
So this is budget work, personnel worker coordination. So payroll settings, weekly check-ins, coordinating worker schedules and matching responsibilities. So it would be this one right here. So it's part of coordinating worker schedules and responsibilities. So this includes priority work with /hard stops, right?
Yeah. It's still also on ranking J. What about top direct rank? Top ranking, we have, I think we have direct ranking. Direct hourly ranking, and we have.
The only ranking that anyone should be working on would be the direct hour and budget rankings for the budget. Everything else you guys should be checking in with me so we can get the overall rankings completed and actually finalize the rankings that we've been talking about for months and months. Okay? Like working on contribution rankings doesn't help and is not a priority. Do you understand? Because we're not using it for anything. That's the problem. So let's get it usable and then we can prioritize it again. For now, focus on the HR direct hour rankings and budget rankings.
HR direct hour, for you to do that also, you need to have to work on top average ranking. First, then fine. It's always like you get the information from this one for you to work on direct hourly ranking.
Yeah, that's fine. Mm-hmm.
Likewise to jurisdiction. These three rankings are having almost similar information. You have to make sure you work first on top average ranking. Then you can do direct hour ranking and jurisdiction hourly ranking.
Cool.
So can we include that?
It is. It's included right here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. So let's move on. So we have the budget work. Obviously, the budget work needs to be finalized and prioritized, especially the invoices and invoice tabulation. Hopefully we'll talk about that. Also the Mo taxes. Right now our focus is on step 1, and I think it's really, we really need to, do the accounting. So we need someone on top of accounting and getting all of the spreadsheets and verifying that all of the CSVs are done correctly. And Zilu's been helping with that, so that's great. We add Zilu on here. Oh, actually, we want to add Zilu on here. Yeah, Zilu's on here a lot. Okay, perfect. Personnel support, worker coordination. So we're working on that with the weekly check-ins is the focal point there. Hopefully we'll get to that today. Main session prep. I think we're pretty good on session prep. And we added the Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and I think we also might add in the seasonal, but right now, yeah, so we need to do the seasonal as well, possibly.
Seasonal or not?
What?
We will do the seasonal?
Yeah, well, we need to put it in our budget, but yeah, I mean, the seasonal session should be happening, of course. It always happens. 4 times a year. Policy keeping and organizing. So this is the policy verification, and that's going to be important for Plasmo. And this is all Plasmo goals. I would even put policy keeping under Plasmo. Documentation systems, grants. Grants we're actually going to be removing and taking out because it didn't happen. It's not happening, so we're going to get rid of that. But we'll talk about that during Cobalt today in terms of the grants. And maybe we'll continue the FGRN grants, but it's just not really a priority for now. Okay, so any other questions on the mandatory priorities for all of the workers and the individual, dual, multi-buddy team work? Any other questions about any of that? Okay, so last but not least, the management coordination. So we have the mandatory responsibilities coordination, right? Basically, co-chairs can help with this, Jay, others, right, et cetera, ranking, prioritization, and coordination, ranking, prioritization, and coordination. So there's supposed to be a ranking spreadsheet. Does that exist? Do we have that? The ranking verification spreadsheet?
For rankings, yes, it's there. We have it.
Where is it?
Okay, let me get it now.
Yeah, we can link that.
We are 12 minutes into the topic and the top of the first hour.
Okay, so let's go through finish this and then we'll take a break. Website planning and prioritization and management. So,
where can I link this? We have this one.
You can just link it to our notes.
Ranking verification.
You can link it to our notes. It's fine.
Okay, thank you. I'll link down the moderator priorities.
Okay, so then website planning and prioritization and management also is important. I think the other thing is to just like general oversight, management, coordination. And this would be like with. Is anyone interested? Zila, you said you were interested in the position.
Yeah, I will.
Was Rachel or Jessica or Steve O interested? Rachel.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Jessica, cool. So yeah, so we can get some more people on the management side of things. That'd be great. The key to management is that when you're doing management, you're not doing work.
Yes, I'm also interested.
Steve's also interested. Okay, so the key with management is that you're not doing work. And obviously Lucy, Albina are involved, but the goal is to hand it off. So because you're not doing work, it's like we can't spend a lot of money on it. But again, when you're doing management, you're not working. You are just managing everyone else's work. Okay, so let's add that as well. And then I think we are done.
I was also prioritizing to set up the automatic messaging system.
The automatic messaging system, that would just be part of session support. Main session,
Yes.
and support, planetary session.
Yes, we were previously doing through the accounts of WCTC, but the ID is probably not working for the IFTT.
I think you're jumping a little ahead of yourself. We can do automated reminders with the Google Calendar invites as well. So that would be more for text and stuff. So let's not worry about that. Let's just focus on the Google Calendar for the automated invites. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But we'll do more IFTT in the future. All right. Let's see if we got this HR ranking verification spreadsheet. So would this be the ranking? So these are all the rankings? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is good. I think I've seen it. All right. Thank you. So maybe we should add this to the executive assistant work as well. Okay, so I think we're done with any other questions on the mandatory priorities, and we're gonna take a break.
We take a break.
Yeah. All right, so
3-minute break.
Yeah, 4-minute break.
Yeah. I'm back.
Also back.
Okay.
All right, guys, I'm back.
Okay.
I'm also.
I'm back.
I'm back.
Well, are we ready to move on?
Who is that imitating me?
So really quickly, I wanted to mention that for anyone interested in becoming a manager, you can start with the mandatory priorities. So the manager wouldn't be doing any of the work. They would just do general oversight of the mandatory priorities. They would review the mandatory priorities verification spreadsheet, and they would list who is working on each priority, and then you would be asking people, what is the status? How much percentage complete is it? And you'd be checking in on them on a regular basis to find out how the progress is moving forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
So it shouldn't be too complicated. It's just a matter of reminding people.
Mandatory priority manager. Do you need a manager for that?
I mean, the answer is yes. There would be a person helping with that, but right now we're thinking of like just a general management to manage all of our priorities and projects and responsibilities. Okay. And right now the focus is on the mandatory priorities. All right. Okay. So I mean, eventually when we have more people, we can break up the management into more detailed positions, but right now we don't even have any managers, so we need to just like get someone managing something. All right. Methods and policies. So the focus here was communication. Does anyone remember the components of primary components of our communication methods? What's the number one component of our communication method?
Sorry, can you repeat once again, please?
So all of our methodology, I'm using the term components that relate to how we function and work together. And so we've gone over this before. The question is, what is the number one component of our communication method? What's the most important thing when it comes to communication for working as a team?
That's what you're working on.
What? Say again?
Updating on what you're working on over the Skype.
Okay, so updating on what you are working on, you know, using Skype, email, etc. Okay, so that's an example. You guys want to give some other examples? So this would be like a task, right? But the component of the methodology is more general, right? So can you guys think of other examples of team communications for working better as a team? What have you updated on Skype once every 3 months, once a quarter? You'd be updating on what you're working on Skype, but it would be once a quarter. What would that mean?
Achievement. What you achieve.
What you have achieved, output, and
deliverables.
Okay, good.
And what you did not accomplish.
What is still needed to be worked on, did not accomplish, and need help. Great, that's good. So these are all examples of what you would be included, right? In your communications. But again, they're missing a huge component, right? Again, the example I would give is that based on this, you could do an update of what you're working on using Skype and all your achievements and deliverables and what you haven't done, and you could do it once a quarter, once every 3 months, and you would still meet your examples. Is that going to help our team working together? Okay, so what would help the team?
Teamwork.
What shall
Teamwork.
teamwork?
Teamwork. And how does that have to do with communications?
Meeting on session.
Okay, that's important.
Communicating with each and every individual for the particular responsibility.
Okay, like communicating with everyone and buddies on what you are doing. That's good. Okay, so
It also helps also to avoid repetition of a task, maybe. Makes other people to know what you've been
sure,
working on.
this can help avoid repetition of tasks. Great, great. So again, the thing that's missing in all of this, which relates a little bit to main session, is the time frame. Right? Again, everything that has been listed so far, you could attend a main session once a quarter or once a year or once, you know, every blue moon. It's like the most important component is not of what you're updating. The most important component is the time frame. Are you guys understanding what I'm trying to say?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then say it. What am I saying? What's the most important component? What is the opposite of checking in and updating what you've been working on once a quarter or once a year? What's the opposite of that? Come on, guys. How often are you supposed to be checking in? It's all about the time and the frequency. Hello? Like Zilu, you just said that you understood perfectly. What did you understand?
You're asking for time management or what?
No, I'm asking for the frequency and how often you do all these things, right? This is a great example of what you're supposed to do. What's missing is how often you're supposed to do it. You understand?
Yes.
Yeah, it depends with the time. Like, for example, there are those tasks that we do maybe on a daily basis. You need to communicate, not to wait until you run out of time, maybe. So time frame is also important.
No, time frame is
Depending
not
on the
all.
task.
No. Time frame is not also important. Time frame is the #1 component and most important thing of all. It's not. It's totally. You're saying that it's secondary to the updates, and it's the opposite, right? The time frame is the #1 most important component of our communication methods as a team. And what I heard from Albina that's starting to make sense is to not wait. Do not wait to communicate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the #1 component, right? It's like, who cares if you update us in 3 weeks from now? It doesn't matter if you update us in 3 weeks. We would rather hear not an update, but actually have communication in real time today than getting a perfect update in 3 weeks. Do you guys see the difference?
Yes.
Okay, so what is the other, what would also be part of the component? What's another way of saying do not wait to communicate? Put it in a positive framework. We've gone over this before. This is not new. Maybe we could link our method stock or something. How often are we supposed to be communicating?
Every time.
Before you start a task and after.
Every time. Before and after, multiple times per buddy team.
There is no limit time.
Multiple times per day, all the time, constantly. I don't know how to make it any clearer. So the most important component about our communication methods is that we're doing constant communication. without communication happening all the time and check-ins, and, you know, check-ins, right? Lots and lots of small check-ins, not large check-ins over long periods of time. Okay, does that make sense? Do you guys understand?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yeah.
Rachel?
Yes, understood.
Okay, well, if you guys understand, you need to say it. So Rachel, Jessica, Steve.
Understood.
No, I don't want to hear I understand. I want to hear what it is that you understood so that you can repeat it back and train it to your buddies, right? It's not about us hearing this. It's about you being able to train it to other people. What did you understand?
We should communicate before.
Steve?
We should communicate before and after.
And?
We should communicate
But
all
we
the
should
time, multiple times,
communicate
every
time. Okay, exactly. And then as Steve said it well as well.
Good. So that we can communicate to that.
Asif, do you want to say that again too? You said it really well.
We have to communicate every time, you know, throughout our work session, every day, multiple times, all the time.
Yes, exactly. So if you're working, you're communicating. Okay, that's if you're not working, that's fine. Just let us know you're not available, you're not working. You don't need to worry about it. If you are working, you're communicating. So let's just do one more example here. So let's say that you have a you know, a responsibility. Call it a new responsibility. And are in the old world team and don't attend many global sessions and not sure exactly what to do. What do you do in that situation? You have a new responsibility that you've taken on that you're interested in doing, and you're in the old world team and you don't attend many global sessions, you're not sure exactly what to do to accomplish the responsibility, and there's not much responsibility organizing information available. What do? You just do absolutely nothing and just be like, oh, I can't do anything? Is that what you do?
You communicate to seek for help from those who know.
Okay,
the
good.
task.
Communication for to seek for help. That's a good example. So, what do we usually do? What usually happens?
We usually have meetings.
No, I'd say usually people just give up and don't do it.
Yeah.
Like that's our current situation. Like client work, no one does the client work. You know, people aren't sure what to do. It's like just ignore it and just don't do it. Is that a healthy team effort to just not do it just because you're not sure? No, exactly. So not doing something that you have been assigned or chosen to work on is not helpful for the team. So again, what do? You communicate and seek help. So what does that look like? What does it look like to communicate and seek help?
When you don't understand something,
Ask questions.
You communicate, then someone will help you.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Create time to
Use
attend
time.
sessions. Make buddy teams.
Okay,
Prioritize
so prioritize, make time to attend sessions. Okay, so what happens if your buddy team in your session and your buddy doesn't know the answers or only can help you, 1/3 of the info you need?
We'll go through the responsibility doc and follow up the rules and the policies on the responsibility. Then
okay, but what if there's not much information on the responsibility organizing? There's just not much there.
If you try like 2 to 3 people they don't understand, the best person is just to Skype to prioritize. Ask JJ, are you present? I'm prioritizing on this. I need your help.
Okay, and so that's good. So we're talking about Skype now. This is good.
Well, I was I had over that not only Jay, whoever is senior and whoever knows that particular responsibility should step up and, he can communicate and answer the particular question or
Okay,
answer.
that's perfect. So what's that question? That's a very important component there, Asif. So what is the question you ask? There's a very specific question you ask.
The availability?
No. Whoever knows the particular responsibility, how can you find out who knows the particular responsibility? What do you have to ask?
You have to post the question on the Skype.
And what is the
you want
question?
to ask.
What's the question? And this is
Look,
great.
let's
This is
give
exactly
an
what I'm looking
example.
for.
Like maybe if I want to ask like direct, I want to work on hourly direct ranking, and I don't know. I'll just Skype, hello guys. Anyone understand about direct ranking? I need a help. Whoever understand that will say, okay, Lucy, I will have time on this. I will help you on that.
Great.
But
that's
maybe if
perfect.
everyone is quiet, then I'll go ahead and ask Jay. I am prioritizing on this. Are you available to help me on?
Okay, so let's start with the question that you asked, which is directly related to what Lucy just said. So, hello guys, does anyone understand about direct ranking? I need help, right? So this is a perfect statement. It's not really a question. Well, actually, it's kind of a question, but the problem with it is it can end up being a non-answer, because if you don't understand it, then you don't have to really respond, right? So the best question to ask, which was what Asif was implying, was who knows about direct hour ranking that I can ask for help. So do you see the difference between this question and hello guys, anyone understand direct hour ranking? If you don't understand direct hour ranking, you no longer have responsibility for this question. Whereas if you ask who knows about direct hour ranking, you are required to get a direct answer from the team. So this is a much more direct and effective question to ask. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you don't know whoever knows the particular responsibility, if you're not sure who knows that, then you ask the team. When do you ask the team?
We have 15 minutes into the topic, and
We always have like
Thank
you have
you.
time for Africa, you can post there. If it is time for Africa, you post it there.
Okay, but the question
And
is
also-
when do you ask?
Mhm.
When and how often do you
Also,
ask?
frequently.
multiple times until you get the answer.
There you go. So you ask immediately when you have the issue or question, and then you continue to ask over and over again until you get your answer. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
That is the key right there. Don't just ask once. If people don't see it, keep asking if it's a priority, right? If it's no longer a priority and you prioritize something else, then ask something else. Okay, so it's your responsibility as a paid worker to step up and find out the information that you need. Okay, so there's one more thing missing here. We're really close. This is excellent. Which is that you're in the old world team and you don't attend very many sessions, and this is a new responsibility. You're not sure what to do it, and let's just say no one else knows how to do it. So what do you do if no one else knows what to do in the old world team? You have no one you can contact there, and you need to contact Jay or someone else. What do you do? and you put it on Skype and you're not getting a response or no one knows, what do you do?
You go through the notes and see if you can get information on that.
That's a great idea. You know, obviously that's
maybe
that would be part of responsibility organizing, right? Responsibility organizing. You probably already should have done this, right? If you help with that,
you prioritize during like main session, global session.
go through the notes and training videos and try to find the information. Okay, so and then also, of course, you're compiling it and creating the link and organizing all the info. So that's just part of responsibility organizing. So that should all happen before this if you're doing your job well. But again, they're not a global worker. They don't attend global sessions. You know, they're in the old team. They try the Skype. The Skype's not working. What do you do? How do you communicate? We need another form of communication. So far, we only have one form of communication, which is Skype, and potentially real-time buddy team session. But there's another form of communication that's extremely important.
You attend the main session and make it as a topic. Maybe we go through as a group.
Okay, that's good. So main sessions and buddy team prioritized as a group. Okay, that's really good. But again, this is only for old world, right? Because they're an old world worker. So if they have a question for the new world, right? What do? How do you communicate to the new world when they're not on Skype? It's the other side of the world. Or they're not in the main session.
They send email directly to you.
Send an email directly to Jay and other new world workers. All right. Example: UnityNetGlobal@gmail.com. Okay.
Yeah.
How often are you going to send the email?
Frequently.
Frequently.
Until you get the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daily, every few days, you know, back and forth as needed. Keep asking question after question. We do not use email enough. Okay, so it's just keep pushing it. All right, so email is an excellent way to get information, to communicate, to relay information. Eventually, you can get all our email groups set up. All right, so that's what I was looking for. All right, so this example situation, you have a new responsibility. You're in the old world team. You don't attend many global sessions. You're not sure what to do. Other people aren't really sure exactly what to do. You send an email. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, so you have at least 3 methods. You can do main sessions and buddy team sessions real time, all right, to ask questions there. You can send Skype messages, and then you can do emails, all right? And you should do all of them, and you should do them frequently, and you should be communicating a lot. That is our method. All right, does that make sense?
Yes.
Any questions? And trust me, we've gone over this before. This is not the first time. I'm not sure why, you know, it takes us so long to get to the answer of using email, but I'm glad we finally got there. So thank you. Good work. I think we're ready to move on. Anything else? And make sure that's get indexed into the message doc and communication stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Time is up on that topic, and we are at the bottom of the second hour.
All right, so let's do a quick
20 seconds stretching. 20 seconds. Oh.
Perfect.
Good.
Cool. Yeah, and hopefully in the future, you know, when we're talking about these communication methods, that it's just like, bam, communicate every single day, all the time, constant communication, Skypes, real-time communication, emails, boom, 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 boom. That's the answer I'm looking for, right? So if we were all understanding what we were doing and what the method is, it would literally take, you know, 2 minutes or less than a minute to explain it to someone. right? But you got it, and we've gone over it before, so you just need to remember these methods and the fact that it's all about constant communication. It doesn't matter what exactly you're updating or what you're communicating about. The only thing that's not allowed to be communicated on Skype channels is issues. If there is an issue, a personal or communication issue or conflict, Skype is not an appropriate place to communicate about it. You do that during real-time sessions or Hangouts, okay? All right,
Yeah.
so other than that, it's just like send questions, send comments, send ideas, just communicate. The more communications, the better. All right, so let's go to the next topic, which is invoice tabulation. Wait, is it? Let's see. Methods, invoice tabulation. Yeah. And it looks like we have about a half an hour left here before we need to start wrap up. So hopefully we'll get through these last two items and then we'll wrap up. So invoice tabulation, if we go to 151, old world tabulation spreadsheet, new world tabulation. Are these separate spreadsheets or are these tabs? What is this?
The one is for both. The first one is for old and new. Then the second one is for the old world. Then the new world did not even make a spreadsheet. It's just confused. It's like a doc. And Abdullah assigned himself to do it, and Asif said he will help him. So I don't know if they're still working there.
Okay, but this is still confusing.
Only Abdul's work was updated, and no one updated their work.
Okay, so global tabulation,
Yes,
global
open
invoice.
that one day. It's okay, take us everything.
Yeah, so global
One
invoice
is-
tabulation is a responsibility, and then you have, super team invoicing, and then you have super team invoice verification. So there's 3 responsibilities. Does someone want to describe the difference between each one of these? Because it seems like there's a little confusion here.
I don't know, Albina, you link both. There is a different global invoice tabulation. It is for every octane.
No. Global
No,
invoice
no.
tabulation is
It's
global.
for, yeah, it's global. And super team invoice is for all for each and octane. They need to have their own invoice.
That's their own invoice, exactly. Okay.
Then super team invoice verification. Every octane they need to verify the invoice. Someone else, not like for example Zuri, they cannot verify themselves. Somebody else, maybe from
Yeah, so new
Phoenix or
world,
Dynamics.
new world verifies old world verifies new world. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the steps, right? So this would be a system, right? This is the invoice system, and we have process 1. Step 1 is super team invoicing, right? Step 2 is invoice verification. Step 3 is a global invoice tabulation.
Global invoice tabulation, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I would call this a invoice process, right? So you really do need to do step 1 before you can go on to step 2. How can you verify the invoice if you haven't created it yet? How can you do global invoice tabulation if you don't have invoices, right? So what I see here is that this doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't exist. There should be no such thing as a old world invoice tabulation or a new world invoice tabulation. You guys understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there should be no old world or new world invoice tabulation. Just one tabulation spreadsheet for the entire tabulation. Okay, so what should there be?
The first one is the one we have.
I know, but what should there be for the old world and the new world? What should there be?
Super things invoicing.
There should be an old world invoice
Old words
and an
invoicing.
old and a new world invoice.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's not tabulation. Not tabulation.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the question is, where is the old world invoice and where is the new world invoice for the 151 invoice tabulation for the whole world? Okay, and then if we click on the invoice tabulation, the most important part and the only focal point we're doing, right? So for our mandatory priorities, we're going to be focusing on only the client work, the income from client work. Okay, so until we can figure out the income from the client work, there's really very little reason to do anything else. So according to here, what we have is $1,000 of income. So we have taxes and finances for $500, and we've got Plasmo for $500. So you can see here we did 510 at 3x. Here's 555 at 3x. So the total budget is only 500 is what we get, but that's good. So it's $1,000. So we missed out an additional $1,000. So it's only 50% of the budget. So this is a major problem. We have to be stepping up and doing the work of the client work, or we don't get paid. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the question is, what is the breakdown of this $1,000 between the old world team and the new world team? Right. So according to invoice tabulation, so index this information into the invoice doc. Right. Don't want to forget that. So according to the invoice tabulation, we have $1,000 income. Our overall budget is close to, I don't know, $4,500 plus. So we are in the red by as much as, $3,500. Right? So this means more firing and cutting and reductions, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so we need to balance. The goal is to balance our income with our payroll. All right, as simple as that. So the next step is how much of the invoice tabulation came from old world or new world. And just to remind us, for our weekly check-in, right? We're way low on our client work. We need to be doing more client work. So we need to just get through all of the internal operations as quickly as possible so that we can focus on the client work. Otherwise, we're just spending money we don't have. And it's not good.
We're 8 minutes into the topic.
So who's responsible for the invoice tabulation? How do we know the old world and new world? Like, is that what this is?
Come up again, Jen.
So the question is, who did this $1,000 of work? We just want to know, is it old world or is it new world?
All world.
So you're saying that new world did 0?
No, we don't have information on there. They don't have invoice. We didn't get their invoice.
So, I mean, if they didn't do an invoice, then they should go on, you know, basically they should be on hard stop and soft stop. They have no money, right? With no invoice, it equals no money. How long does it take to create an estimated client invoice? How long does it take? I'm not talking perfect spreadsheets. I'm not talking like verified or this or that, but just estimating, you know, what the first step would be. You know, step one, send out a Skype message or email to your team and ask question, you know, please let us know what client work you did last month. Right? 1 hour, 2 hours.
I received that from New World, yellow invoice and blue.
All right, here, this is what I was looking for. The actual invoice.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says $0. It says 0 hours. Is that correct? Is that correct?
Abdullah did of it.
Okay, did the old world, did anyone verify this? So we have a problem with old world verification of the new world invoice. So can someone do the verification? Can someone sign up to do the verification? From the old world? Wait, gelatin invoice. Okay, so we just need one new world invoice, right? So this is confusing. Only need one single new world invoice. Okay, so we want to combine these. Combine the two. All right?
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Because I just realized that this was not old world. All right, here we go. We have a little bit of work here. ECHO payroll, worker coordination. That's good, but I don't see any. Oh no, a little client work here. A itty bitty bit of client work. All right. So basically, the bottom line is very simple. You know, outcome, cut, new world budgets, increase old world budget. Does that make sense? Like if the new world workers aren't going to do the work and don't actually do the client work, then they can't get paid. Does everyone understand?
Yeah.
Are there any questions? Rachel, Jessica?
Yeah, I have a question.
What?
A question.
You have a question?
Yeah. During the third session, there was something that was posted about those who had client work, and under it was Jay, Melissa, Zilly, Joyce, and Joseph. Then those without client work were the people with client work of the operation. Client tasks were Abdul, Albina, Go, Rachel, Jessica, Asif. Yeah.
Can anyone hear Rachel?
Rachel, I saw down.
It's quite, it's quite disturbing. It's quite, breaking up.
Yeah, it's really quiet. If you can speak up or get closer to the microphone, it might help.
Rachel, come up again.
Hi, can you hear me now? Hello?
Need to
Check on your speakers and your microphone down.
Okay, so anyways, we need to move on here. Rachel, if you can just simply write your question into the Skype group. Let's make sure that she's in the Skype group. Did we make sure everyone's added? So we have Albina, Joyce, Abdul. So we need to add Rachel and Jessica. Is there anyone else that needs to be added? Jessica Kip, is that right?
Yes.
That's right.
Is there anyone else that we're missing here? I think we have everybody, right?
Steve O.
Okay, we'll double check for Steve O.
Okay.
I'm there.
You're there. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Steve
Fine.
O is there. Yeah, he's there. Okay, so you can type here, Rachel, so that we can hear your question or see it. So the bottom line here is we need to move on. This is a waste of time. The invoice tabulation just needs to get done. We need to do boom, 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 have it ready to go, understand what our budgets are. But basically, it looks like we have $0 for New World budget and $1,000, or maybe it's like not zero, but like $50, and $1,000 for Old World budget, right? So then we do our budgeting. Does anyone have any questions about the invoice tabulation? All right, let's see if we can see Rachel's question here. Jay, the confusion might come because we saw that we do not have client work, but internally assigned work for F2N. Those were not assignments. Those were just the list of people who actually did client work. Everyone is required to do the work for the team. The team must do 33% client work. All right.
I have a question on verification. So, like, who can do the verification if there is no one? For all one, let's say.
But we have
who can
people.
do the verification?
We have people in Old World and New World.
Yes, we have people, but it's supposed to be verified by other one.
I'm confused on the question.
Are we supposed to do our own verification, or is supposed to be done by New World?
No, we have a problem with Old World verification of New World invoice. Who is going to verify the New World invoice? Someone just needs to
someone from Old World.
Yeah, someone from Old World. Currently here we have from Old World Albina, Zilu.
We have Albina.
But now, what are you going to verify if there is a problem on
you just put 0, no,
it's for every single month. Again, whenever we talk about responsibilities, it's not a one-time thing and then forget about it and never do it again. This would be somebody who would be responsible for verifying the Old World invoice every single month. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Who is going to do that? Who wants to do that?
I can do that.
Lucy, anyone else want to help Lucy?
Yes.
Albina.
Okay, and then you can also assign other people, assign other people if you want to, because you have ridiculous amounts of...
Steve also can do that. You need to learn to help you on that.
Okay, Steve, is that all right? Can you help with that?
Steve.
Yes.
Okay, who is going to verify the Old World invoice?
That is not the problem, come.
Well, it is a problem. I would say maybe Abdul. Maybe Abdul can do that, or Shagini.
Maybe Abdul can do the Jessica.
Jessica?
Abdul can help by Jessica Mihedi.
Jessica Mahidi would be good.
Rachel also, they can help.
Well, and the other option is that with only $50 going to the New World budget, we might need to switch some people to the Old World. Like we could switch Jessica and Rachel to Old World. I don't know. We'll just have to figure it out.
15 minutes into the topic. 4 more minutes to the top of the hour.
Thank you, Alvin.
Okay, so shall we go back into the budget?
Yes.
Yeah.
So does someone want to link the budget? Or I guess I could do it. Budget. Okay, so this is our last agenda item. Hopefully we can get through it quickly. And then we can wrap up and check out. And we were supposed to already have started wrap up, but I think whoever's doing timekeeping is just not really checking in on that. It's also the top of the hour. Should we take a quick break first?
We have
Yes,
3
3
minutes.
minutes.
Have 3 minutes break, then we come at the top of the hour
Okay, yeah.
for the budget.
3-minute break, and then we'll do the budget.
Yeah. I'm back. Hey, Minister.
All right. So let's get through this budget.
Kashinda kwa nini? Umetoka choo mbio.
All right. So in terms of the budget,
Ajay, we already confirmed the issue of Asif and Mazi. Are both on, I think one is 3,000, all of them are 3,000. 3,000 jurisdiction.
yeah. So we'll go through that. Just so you guys understand, the most important thing for the budget is just getting the total numbers right. So this particular budget is based on, like, if we just look at let's look at our budget overall. So overall, we see we have $1,000. This would be tier 1 funds. Does that all make sense? Because that's actually our income. This is actual money that we have. So anything above that is just not real. But we could probably estimate that we could do $2,000 of tier 1 and 2 funds. So basically, because we were so bad with our invoicing, that anything above tier 1 and 2 needs to come out of the next month's budget. So we would have, so let's say we do $3,000 and we subtract the, $500 from over budgeting from last month. Although I'm not sure we spent all that. We want to double check on that. But bottom line, we have, minimum of, let's say, $2,500 to work with. Okay. So if we try to keep everybody, it looks like it would be almost 3,015. Even then, we'd have to severely cut people's budgets down. But if you guys want to look at that, you can. So if we took all the main buddy teams, so the goal here is basically is to create budgets. So this would be, let's call this option 3. We include everyone. So this is what it would take to include everybody in the budget. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Great. So, so then option number 1 is basically no reduction. So if we have $2,500, we just take the top $2,500 and then see what that would look like. So we come here and we just add up to 2,500. Okay, let's make sure our ranking is correct here before we get carried away. And so I do want to make sure it's clear for Asif, and Mazi, that based on our policies, like, we have to meet minimum wage requirements for individual workers. And so in this context, we would have to lower your hours to 7.3 hours per week, and that would increase your minimum, the minimum wage up to like 15, or maybe it might be a little less than that, like $14 an hour. So that's you know, in the long run, the major point here is that overall we need to be thinking about the new world workers, especially people who are in, you know, first world countries like, you know, United States, Canada, other places. It's about business relationships and about bringing in income and then sharing with the global world as opposed to the other way around. And it's the same thing is true with Steve. It's just too much per hour in relationship to our global budget is just so small. Does that make sense? So the focus needs to be on the business. So basically anyone in the local team, anybody in the United States, Canada, anyone in a jurisdiction that's like first world jurisdiction shouldn't be expecting to stay in the global budget. You know, we want to reduce and downsize our global budget. So does that make sense, Asif?
Makes sense, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So we'll try to keep you in for this month and everything, but in future months, the goal is to look at more of like, how do we bring income in, not how do we take money out. So let's add it up, see what we get. So we're looking for 2,500. I would say is right here. Oops. So this is all work that should happen ahead of time. Does everyone understand this budget, the no reductions budget?
Yes.
All right, so then we're going to do with reductions. So with reductions, you would take out Joyce and Aline because they can't reduce their budget. We're removing myself, and let's say we have, and then we also were cutting out from last month, let's say $500. So that's $1,700. So if we have 2,500 plus 500 plus 800, 3,800. So then we have business expenses, maybe $1,000 on business expenses. So if the total is $5,000, this would be 5,000 minus that, which leaves us $2,250. Okay, so the total budget would be $2,250. It would be the allocated budget, and this would, and then the total requested would be. So we try to keep as many people as possible. Let's say we cut Mel and Melinda because they're just like way over, right? This would be tier, where this is going to be tier 4. So this would be, just see what it looks like to try to keep everybody. So tier 0 to tier 4, minus local. So it's going to be 4,170, right? So total requested would be 4,170. And then this would be the over budgeted. This would be the percentage that would be taken from each person's budget. Obviously, nothing would come from Joyce and Aline because they're maxed out already. And this would be the percentage cut. And this would be the change in the time. all the and then this would be the new ranking. So if you change the ranking, you have tier 0, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. Right? And so this would be the amount for everyone. So with deduction and all but local. So do you guys understand what I'm doing? You guys see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So the so you guys should be able to do this on your own to just create budgets so that we have all of the budgets created and ready to go beforehand, because this is just work that can happen before the session.
Yes, but it is always hard to decide what's when you're working. You say these need to be on budget. These people are not supposed to be giving option alone with your buddy team that they are working in. I think for me is not that good.
I don't quite understand what you're saying. You want to say it again?
I said we cannot just give an option for budget when we are alone working on the budget. We say like these people are supposed to be on budget. This option is with these people. I think it is good when we do it together this way.
No, all of this could just be done ahead of time. You know, we're just like we would just do it so that we have the options when we look at them and review them together instead of creating them together. That make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to the original ranking. So here's the original ranking. So let's try to do one with just tier 0 through 3, and maybe we could try to add Mahidi and Mamoon. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this would just be tier 0 to 3 with 1 tier 4. So this would be to number 10. 3,230. So the actual allocated doesn't change. All right, so this is 3,000, what was it? 3,230.
We are 10 minutes into the topic.
Great. So then you can see here, instead of a 40%, a 49% cut, it's only a 30% cut. And then here's the new rankings. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and then this adds Mahidi and Mamoon. You still see Joyce and Aline at the bottom. So this would be another option. So do you guys see why it's important to do this ahead of time? Because it just wastes time. I mean, we could have all this done already. You just need to know how to do it. So hopefully we're training everyone how to do this, and then next time we'll have it all done. So this would be with reductions, only tier through 3 or 3, 1 through 0 through 3, 1 tier 4. So you can see here we start actually paying people more reasonable rates, and even so, it's still pretty low. So obviously, option 1 with no reductions is the least number of people. And then this is with reductions, including all but local. And this would be including everyone. Reductions include everybody. Okay, so the only other option I could think about would be if we actually cut Joyce and Eileen. I'm not sure why we would need to do that though. Can you guys think of any reason to do that? I mean, they're ranked lowest, but they're still pretty close My understanding is that option 1 with no reductions. Oh, that doesn't cut them either. Well, let's say we just added one person. Let's see if we do. So if we do 2, 3, no, I think it's fine. I mean, I don't see any other options available. Do you guys see any other options?
These are the all.
So we have keeping everybody. We have just adding Mahidi and Mamoon. We've got everybody except for local. Let's actually switch these options. So let's make this one option number 2. Right, because this one is good, and then this one could be option number 3, and so they go in order of the reduction of the total pay. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
So option number 1 has the least reductions, the highest pay per buddy team, but cutting more buddy teams, and then it goes option number 2, 3, 4. So what would happen? Any buddy teams that are cut from the budget would have to make a proposal to the HR board or borrow funds from consumer. Okay. So, do we have any other questions about the budget option?
I just have a related question to that. Maybe sometime, like when we have a budget, we have all these members that are on budget. And when they come to, like, let's see who really participates coming during the work. No one. Why are we really focusing on when people are not turning up and they don't come, even though we follow the police? I understand we follow the police. We are very many in the budget. If all of us that are on this small, even if it is $10, we are all coming at the same time and do the work together, then we can even go again. There is no need of all of us being on the budget, and the few people they don't even turn up to work. Like, let's give an example with what she gave. How many times did she give me a 10? No. That's a thing we need also to look at this. Okay. That's the thing I have now.
Yes, I definitely agree. For me, the main thing that solved that problem was the bonuses, right? So we could continue to request bringing bonuses back. So then people who do work and go above and beyond, they get bonuses, and then they can get paid more than everybody else. So that these are just the base salaries. So if you actually do work with the bonus system, you could actually get paid more. So that would be another option that we could do. Bring bonuses back to proposals. The other thing that obviously we could do is we could do the complex model. So this is the simple model where we just take.
For me, I'm not in for the bonus. This bonus thing is not even good. Just have constant amount, maybe.
If you are cutting if you are cut from the budget, the requested budget, then if you do the actual work and you will get the bonus, and it will be similar like you requested. That is the main policy for it.
So the other option is the complex model, which would not only look at people's requested budgets, but how much they actually were paid and how many hours they actually worked. So this would be actual pay per month, actual hours worked. So we could add up the budget and the costs based on actual hours worked instead of just the requested, which should balance it out a little bit and make it so that people who aren't working as much don't take up as much of the budget. So
there is a problem with the average paid per month. The figures people included with the senior manager shift also. And
well, we're not doing senior manager shifts.
They added the 360 for me, the senior manager shift payment.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, Zila, but the point is that somebody would need to update the complex model and get it all ready so that we can do the budgeting based on people's actual work and actual.
We have that one.
So the figure for me, like example.
Go to direct hours, Jay. You will see it based on what.
Yeah, the director also have the
Already
senior
there.
shift included there. So it is not, I think, the right way because all the people are not senior manager and they are not actually working on the full amount. Like as example, 360 amount is for me is not included senior manager payments, and I am not actual work for 174 hours.
So are you saying that you didn't get those payments?
Yeah, but it's included.
Yes, you were not paid, or you were paid those payments.
Yeah, I got the.
So if you got the payments, then you were paid that money, and you didn't have to take the bonus, but you did. So that would go and count in your overall pay and your average pay. So that is correct. That it should count, and it'll slowly average out over the months. You know, if you're reducing your pay. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that it's not ready. Like, we can't make a budget with this. Like, there's no way to actually make a budget with the new complex one because it's not really updated for that. So we would need to go through this more. This obviously the simple one's ready to go.
And again, instead of now using like the requested, can we just use like now, like this month or last month, the exact amount people are allocated, like for me and Steve?
That's what the complex model is. So you would take the actual paid per month, and right now this is all yellow. It needs to be green. It needs to be verified.
No, I think we have done that to the Albina. On other side, I don't know where is it Albina. Can you check on all, even on yes, even on direct ranking, direct hourly ranking, we take the total amount for that person and what the amount that person gets that month.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I think that will help us.
Okay, so but we have a lot of work to do that, and it's not done yet. So, and we need to move on. We can't just do that now. So if you guys do that work and we create the new complex model and we average, I mean, look at it says here that, you know, Asif, Razu, and Zilu are making $30 an hour or something like that. I don't know what this stuff is. So it's just, they're just obviously not correct. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this needs to be updated. I would go ahead and delete the old complex one, and we just have the new complex. And then I can go over it with you guys, and we can try to make a budget proposal before the new moon. But right now, these are still a pretty good context of what we're looking at, you know? These four budget options. And I think we would do this. This is use the complex model, right? So this would be a responsibility to set up and can use the complex model for actual pay and average.
Yes, we can review that and can do complex model and then review during Cobalt main session later.
Yeah,
sure. If you guys do it for today, that'd be great. But otherwise, we can do it for the new moon. Okay.
I think if you can make it, it's okay because also we need to check another budget.
And then we can also do this for next month. Okay.
Yeah.
But again, the biggest problem with the budget is not the the budgeting model that we're using, the biggest problem is the invoicing, right? We should be only using $1,000, right? So we're almost, it's like $1,500 of free money. We're just giving away free money. That's the problem. Like the budgeting should not be easy because we should be cutting twice as many people as we are. Do you guys understand? So the problem for me is definitely not in how we organize the budget. The primary problem is that we're not doing the work.
Yeah, the problem is we are not doing our work as a team.
Yeah. So what we need to do is put everybody on soft stop and hard stop and make sure people realize that unless you do the client work, like you can't work, and we're going to be cutting and firing people from the budget and reducing their pay rates because we don't have the money. We're not bringing the money. So let's get this complex model set up. Hopefully we can get it for the new moon or definitely for next month. And that will help be more accurate representation of the budget. And I'm thinking like a 60-40 split. 60 for actual, 40 for requested. Okay, so are we ready to wrap up and check out? Or are there any other questions on the budget? I mean, these are basically go into an HR board form, so this would be like the HR board form for voting. I guess we could do a round. Let's do a round and see where people are at. I'll just vote first. I'm going to vote for option number 2 and option number 3. Albina.
Wait. One. Option 2. I'm voting 1 and 2.
Okay. Zilu.
1 and 2.
Steve O.
Only option 1.
Okay. Rachel. Rachel?
You're on mute. Jessica?
Only option 1.
Rachel and on mute.
So that was Jessica. Rachel's on mute. Lucy. Lucy
Lucy
voted.
already voted.
And what did you vote for?
1
I
option.
vote for option 1.
Okay. Asif.
I'll go for option 1 and 2. Sorry, 1 and 3. Sorry, 1 and 3.
Asif, 1 and 3. Cool. Okay. So Rachel's the only person that didn't vote. Maybe we could get her voting on text on the Skype. But I feel like there is another option.
Rachel, I think it's on now.
Also, people could add up these categories. Like it would be good to get to make sure the totals are all clear for all of these proposals. But I think there is one other option that is applicable here, which is basically if we ended up cutting Joyce because she ranks the lowest, what that would mean. So if we cut Joyce, we reduce the budget, maybe that would give us 2,300 out of 4,000, 1,700. See here. So let's say 1950. $27.80. So I'm just doing one last one, which is what the budget would look like if we ended up cutting out Joyce from the budget and then reducing the budget to save money.
Option 2 total is 2,385. 120. $1,740.
Okay, so I'm not sure what the total on this is, but this gives another example. Of something in between option 1 and option 2. There. Okay. So let's call this one option. I believe it would be option 1.5. Let's see. 231. Yeah, it's a little bit higher. Not by a lot, but a little bit. So this would be basically like option 1, except it would reduce a little bit and be related and not include Joyce and Aline. We could possibly even increase it a little bit more than that. Let's see if that would happen. We increase it a little bit more, like 2050. So do you guys get this option here? Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up and check out, and then we'll be good. Do you guys just want to check out, or are there any other questions or anything else that came up? Just be sure to prepare everything for the new moon, including the co-chair elections and everything, and make sure everyone does their. We need to do the weekly check-in and put people who didn't do the weekly check-in on hard stop and send out the weekly check-in reminders, right? You gotta send it out. Make sure everyone fills out their weekly check-in checkup. So who's gonna do the weekly check-ins?
I will.
I think we
I
have.
also.
Okay, Zilu and Albina.
Mhm.
So I think we had here somewhere. Oh, here it is. This one right here.
Looking for the results.
Yeah, so this is where the results need to be verified right here.
I give the link there.
Okay, so let's make sure that these all get updated, and then send out a message to everybody and let them know.
I linked on the doc the result sheet.
No, this is the results sheet. Right here.
Yeah, this is the verification sheet. Yeah.
This is where you verify the results, right here, okay? It's always the
Yeah.
same sheet every time.
Yeah.
Great. All right, so let's go ahead and check out. Does someone want to do the checkouts? Like Lucy, do you want to run us through the checkouts?
Yes.
And then also someone needs to make the HR board voting form.
Okay.
Well, during Cobalt, you see.
Lucy, you want to take us through checkouts?
Yeah. Jessica, it's time to check out. Let us know what you're going to focus on.
Yeah.
For the course of the week. Thank you. Start with the Jessica.
Okay. I'll be focusing on invoicing and responsibility organizing.
The number you give the session.
It was 7. Today I've learned a lot.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Divo, can you check in?
Out.
Can you check out? We want you out of hangout. When I say go check out, Steve, just leave the hangout.
Rachel.
Oh my God. Rachel.
Session. I give it 7. Investing and billing.
Okay.
Also updating customer trust.
Can't get you well. Invoice billing.
Sorry, there's a problem with my internet today. Chat.
Can someone hear Rachel? I can't hear her.
I think
Maybe she can just write on Skype.
Can you just write maybe on the doc?
Or Skype.
Yeah.
Okay. As Rachel is typing, go to a big bar.
Yes, guys, I'll give this session a 7. Okay. And as far as the budget, part is concerned, you explained a lot on it. And what I'll be mainly focusing on invoice tabulation. And I really want to, get indulged in JS support Ricola.
Who is our general manager? Who is the general manager? Okay. Zilu, can you check out?
Yes, I can. The session was good and I will give it 7.5. The week 4 I'm going to do with 116, setting new calendar done and syncing and the lunar schedule for the Google Calendar and also focus for the taxes also and the invoicing for the Fulcrum team and global code team also. Also, we'll go with the budget.
Okay, thank you, Zilu. Albina.
And also will prioritize the management positions, the managerial positions also. Responsibility prioritize them.
Are you the one taking the role of general manager?
Yeah, I will help the new people, and then when that running up, then I will focus on other practice. But
Yeah,
first
you
I
make
will-
sure you show up.
Yeah, I will help with the startup of this. When
Make sure you keep on communicating, Rasil. I mean,
and this is the most important thing for this now, for the community. So I will produce this.
okay. Albina.
This session was good, and I give it a 7. I'll be focusing on the voting forms, budget, payroll, global weekly check-ins, verification, and what else? And anything else.
Well, you don't have to mention every single thing. We always do more.
Okay.
Okay. This session was pretty good. I'd probably give it like a 6.7 or so. We was still a little bit long, but and we didn't prepare enough as we might want to. Also, I would note that although a couple people mentioned some of the client work, we definitely want to keep prioritizing the client work. Zilu, if you're going to work on some of the general management, let's definitely prioritize making sure people are doing the client work, and reminding people to do that. And then also with a CEF, like, paying someone $15 an hour, anyone local or New World, it's like you need to get people focused on client work as well. So I'm really glad that you were mentioning some of the client work. And maybe not work as much on the invoice tabulation to get other people stepping up to do that. And then from there, I will be working on a lot, but the main things are going to be the budget for the next month, the Z Collaborator, the token economy, and getting our tokens set up, and then also the payroll, FQM payroll, getting our debit cards and stuff. Check.
Okay. I will keep the session 7 also. I'm gonna work on budget, HR voting form, planetary session, payroll, then plasma.
So I just want to
and many other.
Remind you that planetary sessions as a whole is not an assigned responsibility, and no one should be working on planetary sessions as a general context. That's not applicable. You do one at a time, okay?
Yeah. On Earth, yes.
Earth session. Okay, that makes sense. So if you're going to focus on Earth session, you do Earth session. Again, we're focusing on
Earth session. The remaining thing is to do the invitation. We need the information.
Yeah, so contact me for the list of all the people that we're going to be inviting, but we also need to get the Google group set up, and most importantly, work with Zilu for the Google, the actual Google event, and adding it to, and then also we'll probably have a Facebook event as well eventually, for their session, another planetary session.
Jay, this Jay support means to assist you, right? It's your assistance.
Yeah, that's part of the assistant work, and you can see in the mandatory priorities exactly what needs to be focused on and worked on regarding that. But you need to contact me, and you need a schedule if you want to do that. You can't work on that and not be communicating. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I think we are done.
Thank you, guys. See you at Cobalt.
Yeah.
Great.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Oh.